All right, welcome back to round number 2 here at Modern Mondays. We're hanging out in Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon, USA. I'm Travis Cooper with Portland Paper, hanging out in the booth with producer, designer, IT extraordinaire,
Ian.
and we're, kind of did a little bit of a prequel last round, and it looks like we've got a Esper Shadow deck that we get to see a full match of here. Zeke's piloting that and is playing against Kinney on Vizier combo. Devoted Druid, Vizier of Remedies, some way to find what you're after, Deathwatch Recruiter, and Walking Ballista for a combo kill. So, now is when I get to ask you, Ian, is there a deck that you think is favored in this matchup?
I think it really depends on which half of the deck Zeke sees. I did spot in his opening hand, I guess he chose not to keep it, but I did spot a Spell Pierce, or Spell Snare, excuse me, which I think is fantastic in this matchup, as a lot of what Kenny's trying to do costs 2 mana.
That is true. Spell Snare seems really good in the matchup. I've seen this Vizier deck after Modern Horizons has been released, and the old versions of the deck were pretty susceptible to if you had multiple forms of removal, of just not getting the pieces together to combo out. But now Vizier has Eldamari's Call to grab a piece that you're missing. It has Finale of Devastation to get something from your graveyard or your deck, and they are sometimes even playing Unearth now, so it's pretty redundant on finding the pieces that you need to combo off.
Yes, is it Unearth or is it Postmortem
Oh,
Lunge?
Postmortem Lunge, there you go. Or depending on if you are splash, I've seen Abzan lists splashing black that play Unearth as well, but Postmortem Lunge is the Phyrexian mana cost kind of version of Unearth. And we get a shock into Inquisition from Zeke. Looks like we have a Selfless Spirit, Vizier of Remedies, Wooded Foothills, and can you tell what that fourth card is?
It looked like a linger. Oh no. Did you mention Selfless Spirit
I
already?
did.
Oh, no.
And it looks like we get a Vizier of Remedies taken off that Inquisition.
Travis, what do you think about the art on this new mom? This giver of runes.
I think it looks pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah. Let's take a look at it.
I kind of want whatever she's holding.
Yeah,
And it seems like she would give it to me.
probably.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, she cannot give to herself. That is kind of the crux. That is the crux of being the giver of runes rather than the mother of runes. Is you cannot give to yourself. I do think this card is a sizable upgrade to this archetype.
Sort of has also the like Mother of Dragons look to it as well.
Yeah, it's cool. It is Seb McKinnon art, who has become a quick fan favorite. So Kenny running out all sorts of protection for his combo here. So if he can get the creatures on the battlefield, they're not going anywhere.
And Zeke doesn't really have a clock yet, and we're going for a Fatal Push on Giver of Ruins. And
Wow. Wow. So interesting. I was going to say really heads up by play by Kenny. I suppose it's still a heads up play. It would not have mattered in either case, as if Kenny had not chosen to respond by giving his other creature protection, then Zeke could have just waited for the creature to die and then done the same thing.
yeah, I'm not sure how much Kenny actually lost in that exchange. Getting that extra land seems like Kenny's missed a land drop. Might help him cast his X-cost spells.
Quite a few snow lands showing up lately. I think I was listening to a podcast recently that was saying they were arguing that it's strictly better to run snow basics over normal basics at this point, as it just bluffs a greater number of cards, and there's almost no good reason not to run them.
Because you don't like the art and you like old borders?
Yeah, so that's kind of where I would come from, but I suppose if you are the spikiest of spikes and you want every possible advantage that Magic the Gathering has to offer you, I could see that argument being valid.
I don't really see how that's changed that much, though. I mean, that's always kind of been a thing that one could do.
Well, there are more relevant snow cards that can be played at this point. I think the little baby Strix, little
Ice Fang
Strixlet,
Coddle.
Ice Fang Quaddle.
Yeah, I feel like Scred, the card, gets more play in Modern than that does. And there's always the element of bluffing being on Scred or not if you played like Snow Island or Mountain. And we get, I always call him like adolescent Jace,
You don't like doing baby.
but he's an awkward kid.
Yeah. This is before omniscience. Before omniscience, Jace. Let's take a look at baby Jace here, Travis.
Baby Jace is Jace Belrin. This is adolescent Jace.
Okay. Let's take a look at adolescent Jace.
See, he looks so angsty. He's doing angsty things. Gonna draw and discard.
But he goes from being angsty Jace to whew, emo Jace. And he has obviously many more cares and a lot more to think about and a much grayer background.
Feels like almost all Jaces are emo Jaces, except Pirate Jace is kind of like gutter punky Jace a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, he's fun Jace.
Zeke's doing some things here. He's flipping Jace. We're gonna minus targeting Fatal Push.
And the Giver's going to do its job here.
And
Toss it.
Kenny's giving Vizier Pro Black.
Makes sense. And we get to see the rehash version of what we saw last round. Ranger doing things, grabbing shadows.
And I might even be tempted to sack Ranger on upkeep here, so Kenny's not able to play a search spell.
You know, I do feel like Ranger Captain of Eos grabbing Death Shadow is a bit of a flavor fail, as I really don't feel like they would be part of the same unit.
Well,
or even great friends.
I feel like he would get the person that has the Death Shadow to help him out, and then not realizing that the Shadow was coming along for the ride.
All right, that's fair. Maybe his benevolent nature gets the better.
And we get an Eternal Witness. Grabbing.
Well, gotta just keep trying to get the combo assembled here. There's pretty much one way that this deck wins, and it's by comboing. This is not a deck that very often wins by serving in.
So I don't know about Zeke's sleeves, fish liver oil, but I'll ask Zeke once their match is over and update you after they're done. And Zeke's blessing Jace on the Eternal Witness.
Coming in for 6. Kenny's doing some thinking here. Does he want to block? Looks like Kenny's going to 12. So I must have had the life totals slightly wrong. Zeke tosses out a Lingering Souls. Tisk tisk.
Looks like Kenny's got plenty of mana here. Going for Eldamari's call.
Well, he can play the Devoted Druid, but he cannot use the Devoted Druid this turn. So, I guess he's holding his breath here. Zeke can, of course, sacrifice the Ranger Captain to lock Kenny out of out of casting any of his non-creature spells. So unless Kenny just naturally has the Walking Ballista in hand or the, help me out, Travis.
I'm just paying attention to what Zeke's doing right now. Where it looks like we minus Jace to 0 to get the path.
Oh, never mind. Yeah.
And the Druid's getting pathed. Zeke trying to make Kenny continue to shuffle his deck throughout the turn.
4, 6, 7, 8.
He's just making things efficient.
Coming in for 10.
Um,
Feel like I just got to take this. Kenny's got 1 card in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, blocking doesn't really... I mean, you need to assemble your combo to win, so... You don't block this. You hope to draw a post-mortem lunge that you unfortunately can't cast because you don't have black mana, and Phyrexian mana costs 2 life, so I guess he's got no outs.
Packing it in onto the sideboard. So, Esper Shadow kind of doing a really good, kind of like a mid-range kind of impersonation there. You had the hand disruption, had some planeswalkers, then you have, you know, very efficient like beater of a creature, but you have some lingering souls too to attack or beat chump blockers. I like this new shadow build.
It looks really, really fun. Yeah, it looks like exactly the kind of magic that, you know, if you like making decisions, you get a lot of those. And everybody loves a good mid-range mirror. I would love to see the Esper Shadow deck against a Jund deck. Just sounds like a lot of color fun.
Hope the Gen deck isn't sideboarding Blood Moons.
Yeah, that would, I don't think they do that.
That was the thing for a while.
Oh. Blood Moon must have been really, really good then. Because Jund can function under a Blood Moon, but they're not exactly happy about it most of the time. Well, what are you looking to bring in if you are on Zeke's side of the table here, Travis?
Probably bringing in some amount of Liliana the Last Hope if that isn't in your main deck. And I'm assuming it's a sideboard card. So that comes in to ping all the birds, etc. that Kenny has. Any other removal spells that you have in the sideboard, probably going to toss those in. You might even be playing like a Damnation or something. But anything that's going to ping creatures, that's what you want to bring in. Perhaps some more counter spells to get the Finale of Devastation, Eldamari's Call, etc. Like negate type effects seem decent against a Vizier combo deck. I'd probably trim something like Lingering Souls, don't seem that great in the matchup. Kenny's mostly just trying to combo you out and not value you out. But Kenny's probably bringing in some value-oriented creatures. Maybe something like a Tireless Tracker, or I'm unsure of what all is in the sideboard, but some cards that are going to get value when they come into play are be recursive, like maybe some Kitchen Finks. See, we've got a list right now in front of us. It looks like there is a tracker in the sideboard. There's a couple Eidolons of Rhetoric, Collector Oof, and then some removal like Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy, Path to Exile. I'd imagine paths are coming in for the Death Shadows.
Do you think about bringing in Sin Collector or Rest in Peace?
See what we can do here. I like that range.
I could maybe see an argument for Rest in Peace when you're on the play, but it's not great in the matchup, and I'd kind of just like more creatures than I do spells.
Yeah, you really, if you're on Kenny's side of the table, there's probably no configuration of your deck that outgrinds Zeke's in the mid game. So you probably just have to accept that, you know, you really need to focus on that combo. And if you can't make that happen early, then, you know, you're just going to get buried, and that's fine.
Might be able to get lucky off a Tireless Tracker and get a couple clue tokens, but can't really count on that when you're playing against a deck that's going to have multiple planeswalkers that are going to interact with your board by bouncing your creatures with Teferi, are killing them with Liliana the Last Hope, are using the pseudo Snapcaster effect on Jace, Ren's Prodigy.
Right. It almost feels like the Shadow deck just has too many tricks to make whatever small amount of value you can eke out of a tireless tracker worth it. As both their removal effects, Fatal Push and Path to Exile, can take out the tracker as well.
Thinking, and we're going to go down to 18, play Breeding Pool.
What flavor of dork do we have? No flavor of dork.
Just going to maybe reveal a creature here.
Chat, help us out. What's the name of that card?
Go ahead. Shock Crosses.
And we get a Shock and Thoughtseize with Selfless Spirit, Windswept Heath, Devoted Druid, Vizier of Remedies, Wooded Foothills, and is that an angel?
I believe that's a Shalai, Voice of Plenty, hiding under the Devoted Druid.
Incubation Incongruity.
Ah.
The Druid. The Druid? Or sorry, the Vizier. Sure.
Shall we take a quick peek at Shalai, which I think is a great card in the matchup. Fortunately, just like everything else,
we're getting a surgical in the draw step.
Oh, you get a look. I do.
that is, that's a tough one for Kenny.
Well, we're gonna have to go on the mid-range creature beats strategy now.
Yeah, so Zeke checking out what he's going to have to be aware of, which one-ofs are interesting. It looks like he spotted a Ranger Captain on Kenny's side, also an Ooze in there. Shalai is not bad if you're going on the beatdown plan. I think that Kenny's going to have a tough road ahead of him as this second mode of the Vizier combo deck. Its plan A is very strong. Its plan B is workable, but not a very strong plan B out of this deck.
Yeah, its plan B is kind of on par with like the medium creature beats of something like Eldrazi and Taxes.
Without
drops.
any taxes.
Without any taxes or top end.
And without the good stats of Eldrazi, so it's kind of like bears and I don't know, bears and shopping.
That was a stretch.
Yeah, a huge stretch. Thanks for calling me out.
Just saw the viewer count drop by like 3 or 4 people.
They're so judgmental. Love you, chat. We did. We lost 4 people on that metaphor.
Okay, what's it gonna be, Kenny?
Which version of Sad Grizzly Bear? And you know the thing about Devoted Druid is it's a 0/2, and when it taps for mana twice, it becomes a -1 power. So its beats are really, really bad.
Well, then if you tick up Jace on it, it gets to be significantly the negatives there. Oh, the Shalai gets eaten with the Thoughtseize there. So the sort of mediocre creature beats are going to get worse without an assist from Shalai.
Kenny really just debating. I mean, there's a world that Kenny can win this game. He probably has to sequence well, and he probably has to, again, find a way to tutor up a useful creature. I mean, the Scavenging Ooze is great if he can keep it in play.
Yeah, it feels like the Vizier deck before the last couple sets, or the Spark and Modern Horizons, played more cards like Voice of Resurgence that could help you get through like all your little dudes getting picked off and then still have some kind of board presence. But now that there's so many more tutor effects for them to use, they've gone full in on the combo, which has become pretty redundant, except if it's interrupted by something like a well-timed surgical extraction. Then your plan B is a lot weaker than the plan B of the deck 4 months ago.
Right. Yeah, we're definitely into the Turbo Vizier combo phase. Well, Selfless Spirit's a 2-1, Travis.
Well, we can get some Exalted. Are you going to get Exalt? Oh.
And Zeke's done some work for Kenny here, so unfortunately Selfless Spirit cannot sacrifice to protect itself. It's selfless.
Yeah, most of the creatures on Kenny's side of the table are really into helping out their buddies, but not so much themselves.
Yeah, and they seem to help out the buddies that are less powerful. They're a benevolent kind of crew. Interesting. Zeke choosing to fetch for a basic here, Travis. Obviously, valuing his life total, it's possible that his resources are maybe a little low here.
Yeah, we get some Lingering Souls.
Zeke knows this matchup, if he can survive, that he will eventually pull ahead with card advantage, and he's not too worried, or I guess not worried at all about Kenny managing to combo off. He's also seen all of Kenny's decks, so there's not really any tricks that Kenny can have as far as the deck list is concerned that
Ooh.
would surprise.
It's actually a pretty big draw there. Now Selfless Spirit can attack into those spirit tokens.
16, did I miss something?
I'm at 11. I'm at 11.
And another shot.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you're Kenny, you start attacking here. It does not get better from here.
4.
Kenny serves in for 4 with the 2 Exalted triggers.
All right.
Zeke is opting to take the long run approach of maybe killing that Selfless Spirit after flashing back the souls this turn. Kenny's probably hoping to draw, what do you think? Hoping to draw a Walking Ballista here?
Seems strong. You know, I feel a little bit disappointed right now in Zeke personally. Like, he was in the booth. We talked about tokens last week.
Yeah.
And what do we have here?
Yeah.
We just have maybe the backs of art cards.
Yeah.
You at least flip them over.
Yeah. Well, you know, we'll take him aside for an intervention after the game, and you know, we'll go from there wherever we have to. So, if you're on Kenny's side of the table and you've drawn a blank piece of cardboard, do you still serve in with this Selfless Spirit? I mean, do you just have to keep serving in even if you're going to start trading resources? Okay. Kenny comes in with the 2/4. I kind of like this.
That's decent. Yep. There's some more buddies.
Oh man.
You know, it's both decks exhibiting kind of their mediumist of plans. This is what a game looks like that Kenny can possibly win, though, as Zeke's a little depleted on resources, just kind of tossing out. They're just kind of trading back and forth. Kenny hoping to eventually break through.
I think I see a Kaya's Guile hanging out in Zeke's hand.
2 cards in your hands.
Card is strong.
All right.
Do you think Zeke should have only blocked with 3 creatures?
I kind of like blocking with all 4.
Okay, you lose the extra one, but you like the insurance just in case Kenny had a path or something like that?
Correct.
Sure.
Position.
And now we're going to get to know what Kenny's been holding on to. Is holding on to that path into
Ooh.
Foothills.
Linger Souls.
Oh, Zeke with some good reads here. Kenny's looking for that ballista. Another giver of runes.
Not bad.
That's a 3/4 when it attacks.
You can give one of the hierarchs pro white, but Zeke's taking 2.
Good about your life total. Go ahead. Mine's correct.
You're the one attacking.
It's kind of fun, you know. It feels a little mediocre, but things are happening.
Yeah, I feel like Zeke might be gonna use the life gain mode on that Kaya's Guile.
That would be the first time I've ever seen it cast for that mode. We do seem to be witnessing that kind of the pool noodle fight versions of both
I'm
decks.
gonna cast Kaya's Guile and have you sacrifice a creature, and I'll create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature.
All right, Kenny's gonna sacrifice a creature. Zeke's gonna make a white and black spirit creature. So I kind of like sacrificing a hierarch right here.
Yeah,
I mean, it
agreed.
sucks, but you're gonna have to get through somehow.
Right.
And I kind of like giving the hierarch pro white and swinging in.
Huh. Ain't that some shit? You're really gumming up the works here.
I'm trying.
I'm gonna tell you.
I'm trying.
I'm gonna tell you for free. Pro white. Attack for 1.
it's such a small amount of
I'm gonna take 1.
damage. Oh,
You know what I
man.
really like playing?
What do you really
I like playing Lightning Bolt.
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna see that in this game.
All right.
Search.
Yes.
Giver of Ruin should be in the exile zone.
Miserable games,
Attack for 1.
Ooh, we're getting feisty here.
Sure.
Things are happening. Zeke is turning the corner.
What are you talking about?
See, that's what happened. I went on to
Oh, pass.
yeah. My old
Something like a Scavenging Ooze or Tireless Tracker
the one
could start to
closest
turn
to
things
us.
around.
Yeah, it did. I didn't see a Zeke holding up some lands in hand.
I don't think they were lands.
Hmm.
I'm unsure of what's left over.
Your turn.
Someone's got to.
When you're at 13.
Can't imagine that he wouldn't play things that weren't lands.
Waterlog Grove.
Yep.
Ooh.
All right, that's a redraw.
Sack it.
Yep.
It's not bad.
I kind of would have liked paying just the green mana for that, though. But
Yeah, that's fair.
Who's played the garden tap?
No,
Ooh, you can't play
no,
2
you-
lands,
you-
Kenny.
Yeah.
You already played a land.
Oh,
All right, we got it. We got it.
that's right. Yeah,
Played
duh.
this one.
Yeah, might as well just run it out.
All right,
Nope.
we got the devoted druids back. The old 1/3. It's a downgrade from the 2/4 of the previous one, but
2.
wow.
Whoa.
All right, there's got to be a Death Shadow here, right? Okay, we got the Ranger Captain into the Death Shadow.
Show me.
You know exactly what I'm at 2 life.
Man, how much
That is
would
fine.
Modern change if Swords to Plowshares was legal?
I think Hogak would still win.
Fair enough.
Attack for.
I think blue-white gets better, but
Yeah.
Just in case. You're at 11.
I actually don't think a lot, to be honest.
Huh. Well, it definitely would make the Death Shadow decks way worse. I mean, they basically get forced out of Legacy because of that card.
Something crazy.
I can't even
Maybe
imagine.
Kenny's definitely holding on to a forest
Yeah,
in
I know,
hand.
that's what I was
I think we got a Finale of Devastation,
Without
too.
being able to make a bajillion well,
You could get Sly back.
play to the outs, right?
That's a good point. I forget that Finale of Devastation also has the Graveyard Clause.
A forest
Okay.
and pass.
Is
Does-
always within the realm of possibility that I just punt this match away.
Yeah, Zeke is sitting at 2, so he's playing with fire here for sure.
These 3? 11, 3, 1.
I suggest blocking the 11/11.
Take 4.
No.
You're at 7. I will pass this turn.
Kenny drops to 7, so I must have had life totals just touch off again. Come on, Kenny, what do we have? I'm a little. If he had the finale last turn, I'm a little confused why he didn't try and slam it. Does he know anything about Zeke's hand?
I'm not sure. I mean, I kind of would have gone for a desperation play of like perhaps like get Sly and then leave my Devoted Druid tapped and then like untap it when Zeke goes to attack. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably gonna die if Zeke has removal, but you're
Yeah.
probably gonna die anyways.
Right. Yeah, it does. It's just like it does not get any better. Like waiting, even jamming things into counter spells, it just doesn't get any better for Kenny as he waits longer. Kenny taking advantage of his right in Modern to rearrange the graveyard, a right that is denied Legacy players.
Well, you don't necessarily know that if you watch SCG coverage. Sing.
That's what we've come to, just slights of the coverage that we love.
I do love SCG coverage.
They're fantastic.
I'm really glad.
Love what they do.
Yep. It's not their fault that players rearrange graveyards.
Yeah, sorry.
It also doesn't matter the vast majority of the time. All right, Kenny. What do you get back to win here? The graveyard is your oyster. And that witness is a speed bump to the Death Shadow.
I think you get back the, I was going to say get back the Giver of Ruins.
Yeah, I don't...
Selfless Spirit.
Because the Giver of Ruins allows you, if you draw another Noble Hierarch, you might be able to push through that 2 points of damage.
Right.
Unlikely, but...
Right. Man, it's tough though because Zeke does have 2 different colors of creature.
Yeah, but Zeke's probably attacking with that Death Shadow.
Suppose so.
And if I'm blocking like this, I would like putting the Witness in front.
I have no effects.
Guess it doesn't really matter.
In response,
What? I'm a little.
it's fine actually.
I guess if.
Just,
Ooh,
this
if
does not die. Nothing
Kenny
dies.
can
Nothing does.
draw a
Okay.
path. I mean, Zeke has to have basically nothing in hand, but. No, 1 path doesn't even do it, huh?
No.
The spirits, they linger.
They linger, they're lingerers.
Just hanging
You
out.
still got another one in there, don't you? Or
No, I cast these
Beautiful.
4 times.
Oh, it just feels so hopeless for Kenny. It's the
I'm trying to think of the lines of
I
cards
know.
that could be like, you could win if.
well, Walking Ballista, right?
Yeah.
He just needs. So maybe he should have. Did he have an Eldamri's Call in graveyard? Maybe he needed to get back the Eldamri's Call and get Ballista there.
Yeah. If that was a thing that was in the yard, that would definitely be a play.
Puts you under the abyss.
Play I'd probably make.
Well, it's just,
You have to block it every turn.
yeah, I have
It
to,
does look like Kenny's still playing Chord of Calling,
just
which is a
everything
card that
really
I haven't seen as often in some of the newer lists.
not working
Because it
out.
doesn't have the graveyard in addition to claws.
Slow.
Right, and it just seems like most of the lists are so turbo that they're already playing mana dorks. So you're not really, like, the convoke value is not super high.
It makes sense.
But in any case, Zeke manages to take the match here.
Yeah, and we got about 9 minutes left
Yeah.
in the round. I'm gonna go peek my head outside, see what's cracking out there.
Yeah.
And
trying it out.
looks like we've got 42 players hanging out with us this evening,
The black
including some pretty interesting folks that are in town after the GP. So we've got some out-of-town folks stopping by, playing some Magic here. Had a big GP up in Seattle, but I will step outside and return shortly, hopefully with another match up there.
Yeah, not a bad turnout considering that Modern, according to some, is overrun by the Great Hogak threat. All right, chat. Well, I'm going to leave y'all with some music. And we'll go to break for a moment. And if we find another match, we'll be back shortly. If not, we'll see y'all in about 10 minutes.